Hi everybody, it's Crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now, before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my Trezor because you guys rock. To my Crazy fam, I love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, last week we left off, let me see if I can get this to go right. Yeah, we go. We left off right here because I ran a little bit over, and I'm trying to keep them around roughly about 15 minutes. So, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so, but isn't this slow? And the reason why it's saying that is saying replace mesh and edit object. Okay, it says this feature works pretty fast. All meshes in the Blender file are pre-converted when the game is launched. When the actuator is activated, the game engine simply swaps the current mesh for the new one. This works even if there is no visible object using the mesh you want to replace, or there is no object at all. Just make sure to keep the mesh alive with the fake user option. Okay, so that was edit object. We switch on over to that one. There we go. Switch on over to here, and we were doing the edit object, and what it was talking about is replace mesh. When we replace this mesh, you got to make sure that you have your mesh object. You have a mesh object, okay? And see this little F right here? If you do a fake user, then that will always it will make it to where it will never be deleted. Okay, it'll just replace it, but yet it'll still be there. So you have to make sure you put the fake user on it. That's what it was talking about in that. Okay? Alright, so this option can be used to implement what is known as level of detail, and then that was, partly of replace mesh. Okay? You swap your object mesh based on its distance to the camera. Whether the extra stress on your logic and eventually scripting makes up for the gain in rasterizer performance will be up to your particular game. Okay, so what it's saying is that when you have these, you can actually use that for level of detail, and basically you can actually swap like this one out, and as your camera gets closer, closer to it, it turns into a sphere and turns into a cone. So the closer your camera is, the quicker it'll replace that mesh. And you would actually, I believe, use a camera sensor or near sensor. I believe a near sensor for that. And, you would have a property if near, so much of a distance, okay? So your distance, say, it'd be one blender unit, and then one blender unit, it would be a, square. Next blender unit, or next two blender units, it would be a sphere, and two more blender units would make it a cone. Okay, so it would actually that would change. All right, a lot of people don't know that. That's a easy way to get some LOD in your game. Depth of field in your game. Excuse me. Also level of detail. They're both kind of the same. LOD and that are roughly about the same. So next one is track 2. That's this one right here. Okay. Unlike the camera actuator, this edit object option will not move your object, but rather change its rotation. Your object will work as a security camera tracking the object specified in the object field. The 3D tracking option allows for 3 degrees of freedom in the tracker object. If time is bigger than 0, it will determine how long a tracking lasts before the actuator is reactivated. To change the tracking axis, go to the Relations Extras options in the Object panel. Okay, so basically, let's say we wanted to do it to the camera. Okay, and you can, if you set it to 0, it will do its own time. But if you put 60 seconds, so every 60 seconds it'll reset. Your up axis and your track axis are the ones that it's doing. So this is going to rotate on the Z axis, and it's going to track to on the Y axis. So on the positive y-axis is going to, wherever your y goes, it will follow. Let's see, in the object panel, so here's your object. All right, you have to look for relations extras. Relations extras. Okay, here goes your relations, okay? And then we'll see an extras. Relations extras. Ah, right here. Sometimes I miss them. Okay, so you got like slow parent. You also have extra object update and extra data update. There's just a couple extra things in there. Okay. Dynamics is the next one we're doing. Let's see, dynamics. Rigid body and dynamics can be turned off and back on here. That doesn't make a static object into a rigid object or dynamic. It works to temporarily or permanently disable the physics behavior of one. The mass of the object can be changed here as well. Okay, so if you have it set on dynamics, you can actually make it do. It can suspend it, it can restore it, it can set the mass, it can disable rigid body, enable rigid body, suspend, and restore. Okay, so what that does is, say over here in the physics, I have it set to, let's say it's dynamic, okay? And I don't want it to be dynamic all the time, so I would use this dynamics here, and I would put suspend dynamics. Or, let's see, yeah, suspend dynamics, okay? So what would happen is the dynamics that did have, it would stop. Say, for example, I have it set on rigid body, okay? Then I can actually, disable the rigid body constraint on that, or, make it to where it isn't a rigid body object, okay? I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. All right, let's see. Next one is message. Oops. Let's go ahead and close out of that. We don't need this guy over here. Let's go ahead and get rid of him. All right, next one is message. And this one is still a little bit hard one for me to try to always get right. So I'm going to try to go over this one a little bit slower. I'm only about 7 minutes in. So there are different ways to coordinate actions between different objects. As presented earlier, one of them is through linking logic bricks from different objects. That is not only messy, but also limiting. You can only link objects if they are both present in the game altogether, ruling out dynamic added objects, nor you can broadcast an action over multiple objects without linking them manually. A good alternative is to use the message actuator to send a message for other objects, or for itself. The three optional available fields are to, subject, and body. You can see them right here. Okay, so you get your to field, which is you're talking to one of them. Okay, you're sending in a subject. Okay, and then you have the body, which is a text. Okay, and you can actually change that to property or text. Okay, but we'll do that here and get more in detail with that here in just a minute. If you don't know which object to send the message to, or want to send it to more than one, you can broadcast it instead. For that, you simply have to omit the to parameter. Okay, so if you just leave this to blank, okay, if you leave it blank, then it's going to broadcast to every object in your game. Okay, every single object, it'll broadcast it to it, and if it has the subject matter, then it will act upon that subject matter. Okay, this is where I was having a hard time with it before, and I was thinking that you actually had to have an object to link to, but you don't have to. Okay. To parameter. Okay. Let me see if I can get this right. Okay, for that, you simply have to omit the to parameter. A message sensor, the other part of the story, can filter messages by their subject. Okay, so if you have a message sensor that says hello, all right, all capitals, I guess, because I don't know why I got my caps on. Okay, let's redo that. Okay, hello. Okay, so if you have a subject that says hello, if this subject says hello, okay, that's what it's talking about. Let's see another part of the story. Can filter messages by their subject. The body can only be retrieved by a Python script, and it is commonly left blank when you only want to trigger an event, not to pass a value. The body can be either a text or a value property. So this one will send a message, okay, and this one will pick it up, I think. Or this one sends a message, yeah. Okay, this one sends a message, this one receives. So if this one says hello, then this one will pick up and hear that hello. Okay, so when it gets that hello subject, it's going to do something else. You know, say make it wave, you know, make hand wave. All right, so when you link that up like that, and this one is here, and it's automatically doing that, that character will automatically wave. You ever play GTA or games where you walk on and you honk your horn and people, you know, or a person waves or gives you the finger? You know, that's technically how they do it. It's a message sent from one to the other. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that. The real thing about real time is that it has a delay. Be aware that messages are only going to be detected by the message sensor in the next logic cycle. Therefore, it is not a full replacement for linked logic bricks. Okay, so in other words, when this triggers, it's going to be one cycle behind. Okay, one logic cycle, one logic tick. So it'll be tick number 1 and then tick number 2. So if you have it set for 60 second intervals, okay, 60 ticks per frame, then it will be on the first tick and the second tick. 1 second and then the second. Okay? All right, let's get rid of that one. What are we sitting at? About at 12 minutes. How long is that one? Simple motion. Motion I'm going to hold off with because it's actually pretty long. Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll hold off on the motion. We'll leave it. Let me go back up to it here. Okay, let me do that. Say we're going to leave off right here, okay, for this week. And next week we'll continue on with motion. So that would be, let me come back over here. That will be this little guy right here called motion. Okay, everybody, if you've done any kind of first person, you'll know what motion's all about. It's pretty simple, but it has a lot to cover on it to show you all the different aspects. So I'll go into that next week. Let's see here. There we go. And so we'll leave y'all with that. Next week we'll go into motion, and till next time.